everybody, and welcome to Political Star Talk, a podcast of enlightenment about astrology, politics, and the betterment of our society. Join your hostesses, Jennie, Sonya, and Sibyl, for an hour in the stars. Today's topic, and we're going to get into the Gemini new moon and how this is bringing in an incredible amount of deeper understanding. So I want to introduce myself. I am Jennie McDaniel, and here with me, like every other Wednesday, I have the beautiful Sonya Spirit and Sibyl Star. Sonya, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, Jennie. Thank you for asking. This is Sonya Spirit, and I am ready. I'm ready for some star talk. And Sibyl, how are you, Sibyl?
I am good. I have had, I'm going to say, some major shifts in my own psyche. And so I'm going to say I'm much more settled. I've been kind of in a very emotionally turbulent place, and I find myself much more settled right now. So that's a good thing.
That is an excellent thing. And can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I can.
All right. Wonderful. All right. And I just want to tell all of our listeners that, again, we're here every other Wednesday, and we do an hour talk, and we're open for topic discussions. If you want to hear us talk about a certain thing, go ahead and email one of us. All of our information is on the show page. We are part of the Third Eye Political Radio podcast network. Go to any major podcast app, search that's my other podcast network. Search Third Eye Political Radio, and you will find a slew of shows just like this one, a little different shade of color, but nonetheless are going to show you a different view of the political terrain in which we are experiencing right now, which is pretty heavy duty, if I may say so myself. So let's see. Sibyl, do you want to start us on the new moon?
Yeah. There's so much going on, and for me, it's always kind of like, where's the place to dive in? And so maybe it does seem like the beginning is the best. So the new moon in Gemini, which happens on Friday, let's see, it's on May 22nd at 10:38 a.m. Pacific. So you can, convert that to your own time. And just so you know what a new moon is when there is a conjunction of the sun and the moon in the sky, and it's dark. And it's when the moon is not visible, and it is the beginning of a new 30-day cycle. It's like the planting of the seed of that 30-day cycle. So when I talk about a new moon and what's happening, that energy is actually present for a whole 30 days, or 28, 29, 29 and a half, really, the cycle. And so that's why it's important to pay attention to see what we're planting, what the seed is that we are planting at this new moon. So at this new moon, which is in Gemini, at 3 degrees of Gemini, it is, there's 6 planets, or there's 6 points in Gemini, so it's a very, very strong Gemini energy. So there's big Gemini messages. And Gemini is about communication. It is about the power of our words. So many of our ancient peoples recognize that words have power, and especially the Egyptians. I just got a book called The Power of Words, and just how much emphasis they placed recognizing that words create, that thoughts create, and when you speak them, it's a bigger force of energy. So I think there is a big teaching here around paying attention to our words, how we are communicating. And first off, and this has been where my shift has come, is I have had some, I'm going to say just a lot of inner turbulence about things that were going on, things that are going on in the world. And I was starting to argue with people who didn't see things my way. And I had a major teaching around understanding that people believe what they believe. And it's not good or bad. It's like, and nobody has all the truth. Nobody does. Everybody, there are pieces floating around, and I think we're all looking for the truth, and we want to believe that that somebody has all the truth. But it's our job to find the truth. And Gemini asks us to question. And as they say, good science is asking the right questions. Nothing is ever completely settled, like this is true in science. They're all theories. And they remain theories until they're proven, and not very many are proven because they're still based on so many assumptions. And so I think it's really about having an open mind. And another piece that I see is the planet Mars is in a square to this new moon. And Mars is in Pisces. And it gives kind of this is the energy it's bringing in that I'm seeing, is the trickster energy. It's like there is a piece going on here that Gemini is a trickster sign. It is an energy that in its quest to be objective and question and be a heretic and seek the truth, it even asks us to look at ourselves and ask us to not take ourselves so seriously. It brings in the sense of having fun, jokes, storytelling, all of these different ways in which, we kind of, what we are at the center of our universe, and we're not. They're both true. We live in that paradox. And there is Venus retrograde in Gemini, which is conjunct Mercury in Gemini, which is Venus brings in a softness. It brings what I'm seeing here is that I think what it is saying, it is about, as we're being aware of our communication, and it's about being kind. It is about, and especially with our friends, this is a time when it's so important to stay connected to our friends, even if we can't touch them, which is my own personal opinion, which is not astrology, is crazy, but that's me. And I'll share a story of what happened to me, which was really part of the big shift in consciousness that I had. But as they say, and this is part of what happened with me as well, was, having a need to be right, okay, and recognizing that I wasn't being kind. And I feel like sometimes the teachings that I have are teachings for everyone in some way or another, because that's what's coming through me. So it's like when we have a choice to be right or kind, it's always right to be kind. And we have to stay connected in our hearts, as well as in our minds. And so our use of communication, the words we use, they have power. Be conscious, be aware of what we're saying, how we're communicating, and how we're impacting others, and speaking from the heart, not just from the head. The other thing going on here with Gemini is what are called the nodes of the moon, which have to do with destiny and have to do with our way forward and what we're releasing. What they actually are, just a little bit, is that they are points that follow the moon around in her orbit around the Earth, and where she leaves like a wake of energy. And it's kind of like an energy vortex, and that's the best way I understand it. And so where the energy comes in, we call the south node, and it has to do with our past and what we're releasing. The north node is where the energy leaves in a vortex, and it says that it's our way forward. It's our North Star, okay? And so our North Star is in Gemini. Our South Node is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius has to do with our beliefs. We are getting some big teachings around our beliefs. And because so many of our beliefs are outdated, and so much of our reality is based on outdated beliefs. I read, what was it? I can't remember who said this. I think it might have been Carl Jung, said that our beliefs are actually stronger than our experience. If we have an experience but it doesn't line up with our beliefs, we don't believe it, because they're just so ingrained. But we're being asked, we're being shown the way forward is through Gemini, which is about having an open mind. It is about questioning. I have a great quote here. It says, "It is better to keep your mind opened by wonder than permanently closed by belief." And to understand that our understanding of the nature of reality is changing. And just because we believe something is the way it has been, or we've been told this is the way it is. Reality is so much bigger than that, and it is opening. And so our minds need to open to be able to hold these new ways of understanding the world. And one of the ways that I'm seeing this is through this virus. Okay, and that's what I want to go to next. I've been following, and I'm just going to say, this is just my suggestion, is to follow threads of information that don't line up with your beliefs, and just see if you can find a kernel of truth in there, because the truth will land in your heart. It's not going to land in your head. It's going to land and say, wow, that kind of makes sense. But this is the way I've always been told it is. So allowing those kernels of truth to come into your heart so you can feel them, because reality is so much bigger than our container that we're holding it. That container is changing. And so where the virus comes in is, it's science. Ever since the invention of the electron microscope, there have been, what would be the word, discussions, questioning of what they're actually seeing, of whether what they're seeing and calling a virus is actually the cause or the effect. And it seems as though there is an entity called an exosome, and there are viruses. And the question is, are they the same or are they different? The exosome is the effect. It is poisons leaving the cells, and they look so much like viruses. When you get down to that level on the electron microscope, it's kind of like, you're getting to the God particle. They say they're like just steps away from the God particle when they're using an electron microscope. So it feels to me like where we are with this virus, it is bringing us to the interface between the inner and the outer. And what it is showing us is how we have poisoned our earth and how we have poisoned ourselves. Some scientists are saying it is. Anyway, one person said something that actually just, at least for now, landed as a way for my brain to understand it, which may or may not be true. He said the virus is unmasking the poisons and the toxins in our body. We have, Mother Earth has put us into timeout. On one hand, we have all of this stuff going on with the economy, and I'll get to that. We're in the middle of paradox, because Mother Earth has put us in timeout, and we know it. We've gone too far. And it was like, we've known this was coming, we've known this was coming, we've known this was coming, and what have we done? Nothing. Well, now we have to do something. And the thing is and I'm seeing this as the Uranus in Taurus and some other things. But another big piece of what is happening is that we have had this Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter have been dancing together in Capricorn and a little bit in Aquarius, but they're all within range of a conjunction for, the beginning of the year. And we've all known 2020 is just going to be an incredibly big year. We just didn't know how. People in astrology, when they see the planets, the Lord of Death and the Lord of Karma dancing together, we know this is, something's up. And so the way I see it is, Pluto is the god of death, and he brings breakdown. He does. Going through a Pluto time is like going through an initiation of death, transformation, and rebirth. And we're in the death part. And we can see that the structures that we have created are not holding us. They're not, And so the veil of illusion is falling. And and I like to look at it as like with the Matrix, taking the red pill. It is about unplugging from the programming that we have had. But to do that is kind of like